What's up, wrestling fans? I hope everybody's having a good Halloween. Horrible news today about losing Jerry Remy. I'm obviously a Red Sox fan, so rest in peace to Jerry Remy, man. That's very sad for me. Just awful. I love this guy, and we'll talk about it in another video. And, of course, we just lost Real Talk, and there's so many people. It's crazy, man. When I interned at Nesson for a little while, Jerry Remy was awesome to me, and just wanted to say that. But it's Halloween. Tonight, we got a little bit of wrestling news, not quite a ton. A lot of people wanted me to talk about CM Punk and his comments about, going to WWE or whatever, but I really just think it's just BS. It doesn't matter. He's in AEW. That's all that matters. He's in AEW. Let's see what he does in AEW. That's what matters, whatever. Thunder Rosa has a concussion that she's finally just gotten back to being able to hit the gym and work out, which I think is really smart of her to take time off because, I had only had 2 known concussions in my life, or probably had 3 or 4, and I never knew it. But, again, like on the second one, I was unable to jog. If I would, like months later, if I went outside to run, I would immediately feel sick and tired. And so, you never know what's going to happen. So taking some time off and resting, that's the only way for the brain to reset. There's concussion, there's post-concussion syndrome, and then there's there's coma, basically. When you go into a coma, that's like people wake up from coma 8 years later sometimes because the brain took that much time to reboot and rest. It's crazy, right? So with the concussion, the same thing. If you start feeling better in a couple of days and you just run back to the gym and start working out, you put the brain under stress again and you build up the pressure inside the skull and the brain, and things can start, lingering then at that time. So at least 10 days, I would say 2 weeks, 14 days from the injury if you can, but 10 days, I guess, is all right as well if you're feeling great. But so that makes sense for Thunder Rosa to take that time. So I'm glad she is taking that time. And I'm glad if you guys are taking the time to comment down below about wrestling talk, wrestling news, whatever you want to talk about, hit that like button, leave a comment down below. I got more right now for you. I got something else here. But if you want, whoever hits that thanks button down below and drops something, I will pin you to the top of this screen to support and sponsor videos like this. And I hope everybody has a good Halloween tonight, man. Hope you get some good candy. Zeb Coulter talked about how you guys remember when Zeb Coulter was in the WWE and he was going to be this sort of right wing type of guy. Well, today he was saying that there was a line and some things that they wanted him to say. I guess maybe that he didn't. Zeb Coulter was supposed to be a right wing radical sort of type of guy, but the way he says the way I was doing my interviews, it made sense, and a lot of people were agreeing with me. Dutch Mantel recalls, and they wanted me to go out one time, and I was talking to Titus and Darren Young. And WWE management wanted me to say what I got against them is affirmative action. And I went, guys, I don't want to say that. And Mantel explained why he requested Triple H to take the controversial line out of the promo. They said, oh, yeah, that's what they want you to say. I asked why, and I said, I guarantee you when I go out there and I say that, now I'm racializing. I'm just making Zeb Coulter a straight-out racist. We could all argue about what that is, but he said, I said, get ready to take it out because they're not going to respond to this. Nobody wants to hear it, Mantel admitted. I don't care who you are, they don't want to hear it. I went over there and I said that you could hear a pin drop. It got eerily quiet. I know what they're saying. You could read their mind. They're saying, oh, God, don't take it this way. Please don't lean into it. I don't know. Whatever. But anyway, he didn't want to say that line. He didn't want to get into the racial stuff. Well, but see, I would argue that people were already perceiving his character to be that, and that was part of kind of what they were sort of getting at. This was sort of just cementing it. So I would argue that it already kind of was perceived that way anyhow. So, really just going there to me, to me, that was the character, was that type of guy. And just because he says, I don't know, he was walking the line, and he was kind of, being racial or whatever, but that's the point of the character getting the heel heat. I think people did want to hear it so they could hate him, then his team could lose, and then he could get thrown into a wall, but I don't know. He didn't want to do it. But that's why wrestling is so garbage now, because nobody wants to take a risk, right? Nobody wants to take a chance, take a risk, get real heat, get actual heat, make people really angry. Most people don't want to do it. And that's why you don't take a chance. And you know what? Wrestling continues to die. Because while you cater to the goofy 500,000 people that watch with all their moral high ground, weird SJW type of feelings, you lose 5 million other people that could have been wrestling fans still to this day. Had you taken a freaking chance, had you taken a chance, you would still have 5 million people watching wrestling. But they don't take a chance. Everything's a scripted piece of crap. Somebody protests to it somewhere, whether it's the wrestler, a producer, Vince McMahon himself, or somebody else. Somebody won't like what something is being done, and it will never come off the right way when it's so washed, so clean, so cookie cutter, and so just, it's rinsed and filtered through 7 different people's ears. It becomes a squeegeed pile of piss by the time it hits the PG airwaves. And the WWE seems to like to want to be a super GPG, boring cookie-cutter program that has commercials that are more violent and offensive than the wrestling show. Think about that. The number one issue is when you're watching WWE Raw, you see commercials for things like The Conjuring and people being axed in the head, sexual jokes, weird jokes, things like that. And even though they're fairly tame themselves, they're still much more risky than the wrestling product you're watching. So every time wrestling takes a commercial break and you watch the commercials and you realize that the commercials are more edgy than the actual wrestling product, you become depressed. And you find yourself wondering, why is this wrestling program like freaking Disney? Why is wrestling like watching a well-wrapped present by an elf wearing a rainbow hat, but in between break times, we're watching goddamn murderous stuff and hauntings and bleeding eyes and people making better jokes than the wrestling show. A fucking Wendy's commercial with a guy driving a car sometimes is more interesting than some of the things I see on WWE Raw. That's the problem. That's the problem. And that is a 100% fact, by the way. I want you to watch the commercials. Your entire 3 hours of Raw, watch the commercials. You will see commercials 90% of the time. I would say that there's rarely a night where you're like, that thing on Raw was more entertaining or was more risky than the commercials. Almost never happens. Never happens. AEW, on the other hand, does outdo the commercials. AEW has the shit stuff. They have the violence. They have blood sometimes. They have some sexual content sometimes. They have some funny content sometimes. And they try to do wrestling. However, WWE does a PG, piss-poor, straight-up, well-washed, too overproduced child's show while giving us PG-13 commercials. That's about it. That's my take. Happy Halloween, everybody out there, and happy Halloween, Vince McMahon, you asshole. My name is Joe Cronin. Leave a comment down below if you like this, and if you really like this, make sure you guys hit that $ thanks down below and leave something, and if you are the top supporter, I will pin your comment, respond to it in the next video, so make it sexy if you can. Or just say something like, here, Joe, here's some money, you idiot. Whatever, I don't know, I'll read it on the next show, trust me. We'll have a fun battle down in the comments down below. Anyway, what do you think? Monday Night Raw is tomorrow night? Oh, I can't wait for 3 hours of Monday Night Raw. It's going to be a great time. Now watch some videos of mine that you might have missed over the last couple of weeks, couple of years, or whatever. Bunch of videos. Binge watch me now. And tell all your friends about this channel. Tell, especially your dumb friends. They'll love it.